Welcome, everybody. We are back once again. As you know, I love nothing more to talk about music. It is something that is so close, personal to me. And what do I tell you guys all the time is that music is my center. It is what has been there through me, for me, all the years of my life. And many of you know that I am definitely a rock guy. I'm a metal guy. I never make any claims that I haven't been that. That has always been my go-to music. But I keep telling people since I started learning to play drums, just a little over a year and a half ago, my appreciation for music and different genres of music has grown so drastically. It is amazing. I'm starting to listen to music I never thought I would listen to, and really appreciating the artistry that goes into what these artists put into a song and into their words and the music and all of the thoughts that have to go into making a great song. So, yes, I am definitely listening to many different things. I'm into hip hop now, listening to it, listening to still rock, of course, but even big band stuff. I'm into some like country and jazz. It's crazy. Like I'm all over the map now with music and loving it, to be honest. And which is going to be really cool. I'm excited to do this interview because as we know, there's a big festival coming up. It's a 3-day festival. It's happening in a week. It's coming up, and of course, it is called the Soundpath, the Freedom. And that is, if you want any information, please go to their website, www.soundpath.org, and you can go there, find all the information, 3 days, and we're going to have live artists there. But we are also going to be doing many artists that are going to be doing it online and presenting their music that way, which is super cool because that's a free, and you can go there and check it out at the website. It's going to be free for those 3 days. You're going to want to see it. Incredible artists are going to be there. And I have one of them here. And I have to give a shout out to my friend Derek Barticelli because he was sending me some music from the artists that are going to be performing. And my guest, Azeem, he sent me a couple of his songs. And I'm telling you, I was like, I have to see if I can interview this amazing artist and just get a little bit of history about their music and how they got involved in music, where their music is taking them. It was just incredible. And the two songs that I did here that got me started looking into his music was On the Rocks and Oblivion. And then I also was listening to Ancient Astronauts and many other ones. But I want to welcome you to the show for the first time. Azeem, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, and excited that you're going to be part of this festival. One of this is the first of its kind, and I totally agree that freedom does need a soundtrack, and you guys are providing this soundtrack 100%. So many great artists there, such as yourself, and I just want to kind of start right at the let people know who you are, a little bit about yourself, and we can get into your musical journey now. But I really like to start with yeah, who you are and kind of like how you grew up and where music started to enter your life and all of those great things. So take it away.
All right. What's up, everybody? I'm Azeem. Who I are, it's hard to kind of put into a capsule. I would just say I'm a spirit from the never-ending past to the everlasting days to come, as we all are. Of course, we are all trapped inside these bodies. We're all spirits and connected to one consciousness. So I am part of that one consciousness, just like all of us are. But in the individual sense, I'm an artist, not by choice. I definitely would have been a stockbroker or a banker or something like that, or a lawyer if I had a choice. But it just so happened that the cards I was dealt in life, due to many different circumstances, some good, some trauma, it caused me to kind of clam up at a very young age. And I wasn't good at expressing my emotions at all. I was used to cramming them down, and then one day I picked up a pen and decided to write down how I felt. And once I wrote down how I felt, it all spilled out, and it was organized in a way that I could never verbally organize it. So that's what started me writing and um, the the more I wrote, the more healed I felt. So eventually, that writing became more and more creative, and that's still, what I'm doing today. But as far as getting involved in art, it was just, a matter of, being at the right place at the right time in different situations. I started off as just a poet and going to open mics and reading, and then eventually people started to notice, and one thing led to another, and then I began to put a band together called Telefunken, which you probably won't be able to find nowadays, but um, and things just really just began to grow from there. I was a terrible student. I got kicked out of almost every school I went to, and now, as I used to be ashamed of that. I used to lie on resumes and things like that about my school history. But now I'm actually proud of it because I believe that I escaped the indoctrination and I've been able to become a free thinker. So let me share this, since this is some rock fans. Let's just open up with this. All right, I'll share something with you guys.
Okay, perfect.
I know this twisted sister. She's a violent femme. Fast sex pistol, dance covered in sweat. Beyonce and her cerebellum, Shaka Khan man speech. Iron Maiden, she be with them killers. She's down with the kinks. She's a audio slave like Alice in Chains. Baby got an iron butterfly. Give bad brains, turn to tell her Anita. I could never Aaliyah, Billie Holiday with her, never cheat a left eye Lisa. She'll be my Madonna. I'm glad it's night I'm with her. We journey through Nirvana, riding on psychedelic furs. Hit the velvet underground, Ladybug and Mecca Simone. I was born fly for real, have my family stone. Loving rockets, big popping up in your chest. We raise against the machine, aim it at the radio head. Have a clear water revival for the city of Flint. The doors of perception are open. Let the sun rise in. Medicine. Yeah.
Wow.
Music is my medicine. So boom, who I are is somebody who loves music. I was exposed to underground alternative music, people like the Violent Femmes and Bad Brains and all 24/7 Spies, The Cure, The Smiths, you name it, Millions of Dead Cops, whatever. All the Minor Threat, I was exposed to these bands at a young age. And again, to me, as we were speaking earlier, to me, as far as genres of music are concerned, they're all kind of that's made up. Really, there's just two types of music. There's great music and there's bullshit. And the
Yep.
problem today, especially with so-called rap music that used to be hip hop, but with rap music today, because the corporations have taken it over, it went from a movement, like a social movement, a party movement, a liberation movement, a movement of intelligence, to everything being about the lower self. Everything being about greed and lust and anger and money and murder and sex and drugs, and all about the lower self. Nowadays, no music that has to do with any type of consciousness gets through the matrix.
That's right.
There's more Bob Marleys out there. There's more Jimi Hendrixes out there, but they can't get through the matrix that's been set up if they don't sell their soul and and begin to speak about money, or they don't go bubblegum and pop. You know what I mean? So I'm not interested in going bubblegum and pop. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I get it.
what I do to keep myself sane, and then with people like you who happen to come across my work and can appreciate it and say, hey, I like where this guy's coming from, strictly for the fact because you feel that I'm not trying to. I don't want to be Snoop Dogg, piece of Snoop, but I don't want to walk down the street and have everybody recognize me and blah 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 and have this big ego and boom. I'm just an artist. I want to do my thing. So
I get it. I get it. And that was amazing, by the way, that you just did that. And you nailed so many bands and
yeah,
songs in that. I was just like, wow, like that was so cool. And thank you for sharing that. That was really cool. And I agree with you too. There's only good music and bad music. Like there's just this bullshit
yeah,
music, and then there's really good music. And I've always said that good music, whatever, if you want to give it a name of a genre or whatever, fine. I'm not going to argue with anyone about that, but I think it's music that, and you said it perfectly, Azeem, that touches your soul, and I truly believe that music is so powerful. They know, the social engineers know it's powerful. They know the
mhm,
power of music and the word, and it makes no, like, I think nobody listening, anyone listening to this, is not shocked that, as you just perfectly said, you have to sell out if you want to make the big numbers and get that big push and superstardom and all of
you
that.
have
Yeah,
to,
there's a price that comes to
you have to.
getting to that, right? Like
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
you know.
And another thing, it's really interesting because, all right, well, you have to think about it. Like, music and singing is thousands of years old, right? But it
Hmm.
wasn't until the invention of the record player, and actually, it wasn't until Elvis that people started to become millionaires based on being a singer
That's
and an
right.
art and a musical artist. So that changed the art form in a big way, because for thousands of years before Elvis, if you were a singer or a musician, you were just dedicating your life to basically just being broke for your talent, and hopefully patrons and people around would put some money in your cup, and
That's
you'd be
right.
able to eat for that night, right?
Hmm.
So what happened was people started to appear, your Bob Marleys and your Hendrixes and these people started to appear. These groups, there used to be groups, even in hip hop. It was always groups, right?
Hmm.
So what they did was they got rid of groups. If you think about it, they got rid of groups and they isolate one person. So instead of being groups, the Commodores, the Floaters, the whatever, it became just Beyonce, Drake, da 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 da. Like there's no more groups, and they did that on purpose because it's harder to control. It's easier to make one person sell out, and it's easier to control one person that you create and push out there than it is a whole group. So
That's
I
right.
don't know, as far as like with rock and heavy metal. I mean, I know you need whole bands nowadays, but I'm pretty sure they've done the same thing where you have a good band, and like a Led Zeppelin or something like that. But instead of everybody saying, "Oh, Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page and da da da," now it's just the single singer
Hmm.
that everyone is focused on, and people
Yeah,
don't even really care about the guitar player's name or the drummer's name and blah blah blah.
that's so true. Yeah,
See, so that's what they've done.
yeah,
And it's
and
just it's crazy. It's crazy. Back in the day, like the Ramones would play with Run DMC in
mhm,
some in CBGBs or some rundown club. You know what I mean? It was all mixed up because it was all like punk rock and hip hop grew up together.
absolutely.
They grew
Yep.
up together, and they used to tour together and be of the same energy. Just from a different perspective. But now, because they've put everything into a box and everyone into a box, you see, unity is, for lack of a better term, like unity is like is the God's fingerprint. Separation would be the devil's fingerprint,
Hmm.
and they want everyone separated, whether it be by race, by music, by gender, by any and every the political ideology, any and everything you can think of. We are constantly being put into boxes and sub boxes. So even
Absolutely.
inside the box that you're in, they'll break that box up. So now you're separate from somebody else that was in your box, but now you two are different and can be at odds. You know, it's
Hmm.
it's it's it's, it's better for people to be at odds than to be united. if you're of the social engineer of the elite class. You know, they don't
Absolutely.
want the unity. They
That's
don't want.
right. And that's their greatest tool, right? Is even is this division. And you said it perfectly. You see it everywhere. They've got people so divided. They got the family divided. They got communities divided. They got everything divided and put into these boxes. Perfectly said
Mhm,
and very true as
mhm.
of what we're seeing. And music definitely falls into that box, as you were saying. And it's very hard now to get like in the mainstream, the big music acts that are out there. You're not getting the you're getting some. I mean, I think some of it slips through and stuff like that, but it's really, I tell people, you have to start really searching if you want to find some really deep music and some really good stuff. It's out there. It's even in the rock scene, Azim. Like there's these great bands that they're just not getting the push because of the message that they are
Right,
saying. It's
right.
this message, and that message they fear people banding together, and especially coming together, and they know their strength in these numbers. As everyone knows, you can break one stick one twig very quickly, but you have a bunch of sticks and it's almost unbreakable. They know that. And I keep going back to the power of music. I love the way you said that it was medicine, and I
Yeah,
know for my life it's been medicine.
yeah.
Still is. It's so powerful. I keep telling people that is this is could be the bridge, because a lot of people don't want to listen to podcasts and they don't want to listen to presentations by like Mark Passio and other great teachers. But I really think a good way to kind of bridge that gap is music. I think, and other art forms as well. It doesn't have to be just music, but dance, or whether it's poetry. I love the fact that you said that you wrote poetry, because that's what I've been writing poetry for years. And very cool. Maybe talk a little bit about that. I'm really curious. I don't meet many people. I've met one other person, Chris Youngblood, who is going to be also for at the Soundpath, the Freedom Festival, and he's a poet as well. But how long have you been writing poetry?
Like I said, ever since I was young, man, ever since high school,
Wow.
when I discovered that was really the only way, literally the only way that I could get my frustrations and my thoughts out of my chest, because that's where I felt like they lived, out of my chest, and get them out organized in a way that, instead of being this chaos running from my brain to my heart, brain, just all this chaos, it went, I pushed it through an artistic filter,
Hmm.
and then it lived on the page, and it didn't live in my chest anymore. So all
Wow.
the confusion and frustration that I walked around with as a youth, and I didn't know, the only way I knew how to express it was negatively, through violence and just negative ways, you know.
Hmm.
And
Right.
when I found out that I could have this positive way of expressing myself through an artistic filter, and get these feelings out of my chest to live on a piece of paper now, and live in my notebook. um yeah,
That's
that was
healing.
it.
Wow, yeah, like when you say medicine and healing, I can think of no really like and we talk a lot. I talk a lot about shadow work, and I know a lot of other people do. And to me, what a great tool and in your, like kind of kind of what incorporates shadow work is exactly what you're saying. And I think of alchemy and transmuting something that,
Hmm.
as you were saying, these negative feelings and these feelings that you feel so deeply inside of you. What a positive way to transmute that and put it on the paper and be creative and
Yeah.
put that into a positive form. To me, that's true magic. That's true.
Alchemy, true alchemy.
That's alchemy, like
I agree.
100%.
Turning base thoughts into gold, you know,
There you
turning lead
go.
into gold. And Yeah, I would really encourage anyone, whether or not you consider yourself a poet or an artist or not, to actually try that, because once you begin to write honestly, you know, you can burn it afterwards, you can throw it away, but write down your feelings honestly on a page, or type it out on your computer. And what happens is you begin to learn things about yourself that you weren't able to organize in your own head for whatever reason. and you get it out onto the paper, and you're like, damn. Sometimes you're like, damn, I didn't even know I knew that.
That's
This
right.
here's information on this page that I just wrote. I didn't even know I knew that. You know, so we're
Yeah,
smarter than we think we are. We're more creative and more powerful than we think we are. We just got to get out of these boxes, and so
absolutely.
that's
Yeah,
one way. And you've discovered that just by like, oh, you're like, oh shit, like I actually like different types of music. I've been listening to one genre all this time because I thought all the others were bullshit. And I agree, like what they feed the people today as rap is trash, aside from a few who've made like a Kendrick Lamar or something like that,
hmm,
who's an amazing poet, right? So
yep,
this is poetry. It's not, I've always seen I don't really see a difference between poetry and lyrics. That it's the same thing. You know, it's just for lyrics, you're putting it into a more mathematical zone in order to stay, within the bars and the measures, right?
that's
So,
right.
but it's all the same. But what they feed people as rap music today, you see, with art, this is what makes it an art. Either the exceptionally great or the exceptionally terrible. Both of them stand out. So with rap, they'll give you the exceptionally terrible, and it's so cheesy and bad. Like you listen to it and you'll be like, oh, I could do this. It literally sounds like somebody from down the street just picked up a mic and started doing something. But people think they like it because it's so basic, and
Hmm.
it's just like the news. It's pushed to a very low mentality, like a sixth grade level of thinking, and so with rap, they use the exceptionally terrible and they push it out there and they throw millions of dollars behind it, and
Hmm.
they have these people, representing quote unquote rap and hip hop music that know nothing about art, that have not paid their dues. Like, all right, for rock bands and even hip hop bands back in the day, you had to pay your dues. You had to start in the grimiest hole in the wall
Oh
clubs,
yeah,
you
yep,
know, and rock those joints, like, and then climb your way up to a little bigger venue and a little bigger venue. Oh, okay. Now the clubs don't have holes in the wall and rats. Hey, we're starting to make it. You know what I mean? But
yep.
you had to build your own crowd and do that work. So with rap nowadays, or with music in general, these are corporate creations. They're not people who started in the trenches paying their dues, building their crowds, and learning their craft and sacrificing for their craft. They're just somebody with a little one hit wonder that maybe they didn't even write. Somebody wrote for them, and they just push these people out there and say, hey, sing this, do that. And they make whatever they can off it, and then they throw them away. And then the next person, then the next, because next year it'll be some other, idiot who can barely speak English representing rap music. And then the year after that, it'll be somebody else, somebody else. They've been doing this now, for years, and it's terrible. It's a false representation. It's embarrassing, and
I
and
get it.
uh, so everybody don't believe the hype, as Public Enemy would say.
Absolutely. And what's even more disturbing too, Azeem, is that you make a great point about the paying your dues and putting the work in. And you're absolutely right. Back for any genre of music, you had exactly what you just said. You started with nothing, and you hear about the stories like these bands and were suffering when they first started. Like they were barely eating. They relied on charity of other people and women and other
Mhm.
men, everything to keep them going and keep them even like being able to eat or have a place to stay. And you're right, they would start off really, and they would build their following and they would hone in their craft. And I call it forged in fire. Like this was the
Right,
dues that you paid. And
right,
now you hear about bands, at least in the rock scene, they're not even in the same studio anymore. It's all done on computer. They send it in. They're not so very loosely. I would call them a band because a lot of
right.
them aren't even in the same room when they're playing. And I'm just like, we've lost something. It's gotten once again like we know that what happens when they start tainting everything is that they kind of cheapen it and water it down and
Yep.
is exactly like you said, they give you this really just awful cheap music that has no soul to it. There's nothing behind it. It's like this paper image. It's like it's
Yeah.
it's fallen so
The
far.
bubblegum false. Yeah, it's all light. It's smoke and mirrors
There you go.
and bright lights, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they push
yeah,
their agenda too. Like, and that's crazy. That's the part that's really frustrating is, and this is once again ties back to what we're speaking about, Azeem, this power of music and how influential it is on people. Look at the symbolism that they're putting before people in their music. They're not even hiding it anymore. It's just so blatant what they are promoting.
yeah.
And it's all these base pleasures like you spoke of just recently. You just said
Mhm.
that at the start of the interview. Like, what are they focusing on? It's not quality, it's not
No,
morality, it's not anything like that.
it's
It's
all lower
all
self. It's all
there you
lower self
go.
stuff because that's the common denominator. Whether you're rich or you're poor, you're black or white, everybody has sex.
Yep.
Everybody, everybody has, gets, so the common denominator is all those lower anti-virtue, the opposite of virtues, really, but all the lower stuff, greed and lust and oh, I'm a rock star, I'm doing drugs and I got all these women and I mean, yeah, that always happens still. That's part of it. That's you get that's part of it for a lot of people. But
Mhm.
yeah, they're pushing it out there. They're using occult symbologies and
Mhm. For sure.
some satanic symbology and all type of things like that. But really, it's all about mind control. It's all about controlling, as you said, social engineering.
Yep.
And like if you look at those old, like look at some old Sex Pistols interviews, right? When you see them being interviewed on TV, they didn't give a fuck about what like who the
Yep.
host was or whatever. They were whatever. We don't care about money. We're the Sex Pistols. Like us or we don't care. You know what I mean? Fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But now you get these artists. They'll go on the Ellen DeGeneres show or whoever the new. I don't even watch TV no more. But whoever these people, Jimmy Fallon or whoever,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they become like these little poster boy, like there ain't no rock star shit. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be. We're here to shake things up. We're
There
not
you go.
here to bow and to make Jimmy Fallon or whoever the latest talk show person is like us on some little talk show TV and to be all nice and polite. And nah, that's corporate. That's all corporate.
Hmm.
I never, if I wanted to be corporate, I'd join, I'd be a secretary or something. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I wouldn't be trying to be an artist,
There you go.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, I
So,
get it. And yeah, and that's so like I'm just thinking like about what you're saying, and it's really like I've talked about this a lot on my show as well. I'm like, you have these greats in all genres. You brought up the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, then you have icons like Ozzy Osbourne, who we just lost and stuff. And
yeah.
these are people that were I don't see anybody.
I, doo doo, doo doo, doo doo.
There you go. And even in the hip hop communities and all these different genres of music, I don't see anybody coming up that's going to fill shoes that are like, I just don't see
No way.
anything iconic
Nope.
where you have all these bands, we're losing them and we're losing amazing musicians and singers. And what is it getting filled with? And what are people getting conditioned to, Azim,
We're
as you
getting
just
Green
said?
Day.
That there you go. That's what are they giving people? And I'm
Yeah.
just like, wow, like we music is in a really sad state right now, and it shouldn't
Well,
be because it's so
you know,
powerful.
it's interesting because the US, one of our main exports is entertainment.
That's right.
Hollywood is here, the entertainment, the record labels are here, and so we export this entertainment and we affect the world with it. So
Hmm.
there's people in Japan and Malaysia and all over in France and all over the world who dress and rap and talk like rappers now or like rock like rock dress like rock stars and looking like Billy Idol and all stuff like that, right? So
Hmm.
we affect the world from here, from our entertainment industry, right? Billions and billions of dollars go into this entertainment industry and have an effect on the world.
For sure.
But when you tour and you go over to Europe, for example, you see the difference because people will go to a an Ozzy Osbourne show on a Tuesday and then go to a Public Enemy show on a Saturday.
For sure.
They're not as stuck in genres, and there's also still artists out there outside of the US, in the US as well, but outside of the US, again, in France and in Japan and in London and all these places, who haven't been affected by the money, because again, people used to do music because it was in them. They had no choice.
Hmm.
Now they do music because, hey man, I can get rich off of this. I can be
Yeah,
famous. I can be rich. I can be famous. So it affects your art. But there are people, outside of the US, there's bands who aren't affected by that money
for sure.
concept.
Yes,
So they're still true to the form. But
that's
because
right.
they're not in the US, we don't really hear about them.
Yeah, that's why I tell people you gotta dig. The good music is out there, and it really is. And the more you start learning about it, and people start educating you, like I have so many, like Derek and other people that are always sending me like different music, and it just opened up a whole new world. And it's so cool. Like it made me be able to meet you and have this discussion and show you to get you on the show to talk about your art and your music and your the craft that you've honed in so amazingly, by the way. And it's that's the power, that's the good side, I think, of technology and stuff, is it makes things like this possible. It makes this Soundpath of Freedom Festival possible, where you have
Uh-huh.
all of you amazing artists that are coming together for a 3-day event that is it's the first of its kind that I know of, where you're going to have all of these people that are talking about freedom and community and morality, natural law, all these major topics that need to be spoken about and sung about, and all of these things way more than it is. And I think that's so powerful. I think that this is something that is really going to change things, and it's very cool you're a part of it. And that technology can make a festival like this happen. It just shows that there's people out there that are putting out quality work, and that they care, and you're one of those people, definitely. And I'm kind of curious, Azim, about your process to writing. I know, like you were just saying, that you've been writing poetry forever. And what is your I'm really fascinated because, and I was saying this at the beginning, I'm fascinated by people who can write really good music and good songs, because it's not easy. At least it isn't for me. I'm trying, but I'm just kind of always I like asking the artists that I interview the process of how your process is to get a song started, and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
what your process is. How does it start? Are you brainstorming, writing stuff down furiously? Are you just jotting things down as they come along? Like, what's your process?
uh there's two ways. First of all, you just like anything, you have to put in those 10,000 hours. You're
Yeah.
not really going to be able to get around that. You have to put in those 10,000 hours, but you need the passion for it as the spark in order to even make it to the 10,000th hour, right?
Mhm.
So if anything you want to think, I forget who said that in a book, but one of these self-help books out there,
Yeah.
good somebody, Malcolm Good somebody, I don't know, but he said, in order to master anything, you have to put in 10,000 hours, and once you do that, you'll be at a level of a professional, and I believe that's true. As far as for me, as far as writing, it's two ways. One is I'll literally receive a download, and a piece will come to me, come through me, and that's one of those times, like I'm saying, like I write it down and go, damn, I didn't even know I knew that. Like,
Mhm.
I can't believe this came out of me so organized. Like, I have a poem called God's Rolex, and it talks about the stars are diamonds that surround bright rocks of turquoise earths, blue platinum Plutos, red ruby Mars, emerald, radiating sun batteries, 24 karat moons. There are no visible screws, staples, clips or clues to how everything spins and moves. So I talk about the universe as it's a a jeweled out Rolex,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the way that it came out so organized and so descriptive, I was shocked. So I have a few of those, not many, maybe out of 100 pieces, maybe 10 of them are those, right? That's
Okay.
something that just came through me, and I'm not really, I can only ascribe it to my angels, right? Then there are other things where, as far as hip hop, we'll get mute, somebody I'm working on a project right now. Somebody will give me music, and I just let it play. I put it on repeat, and I just sit with it and sit with it and sit with it. And eventually the words begin to formulate. And first line, once you get the first line, it's kind of like breaking a seal on something. You get a first line, and the seal breaks, and then that line becomes, leads to the next line, to the next line, to the next line, like that. And so those are more, coming from those 10,000 hours of work and through my creativity. um and
Amazing.
So yeah, that's those are the two ways. Obviously, my to me, my most powerful pieces are the ones that I say like came through me,
Right.
and not that I wrote myself, but
I
even
get it.
yeah.
That's amazing, and I've actually had a few other artists say that the same thing, like with that you need you need a good beat, like you need some music, and then they'll say like necessarily I don't have the words written yet, but I've had a couple artists say that to me that they'll
Yeah.
live with the music, like they'll just
Yeah,
keep
because
sitting
the
there.
music will dictate to you will tell you what the song is about if you let it. If you're quiet enough and listen enough and listen to it, the music will take you to a place, and it's like the music actually writes the lyrics. You know that that,
Right.
that's the way I do it. Yeah.
It's yeah, and I just because I'm just really thinking, like even with my drumming, like and my guitarist and that, we'll sit and do stuff, and yeah, it always starts with music. Like because
Yeah.
I'll say I got an idea, like kind of like lyric wise, I'm kind of doing things backwards. I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but that's
No.
why I love asking people like yourself for advice and how you do it because it's going to help me maybe figure things out. Being so new at this, I can write poetry, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
glad that Azeem that you brought up. Like this is just poetry. Like
Yeah.
so that's really good to hear that because it shows that I can write. It's just I think I'm overthinking it, and but yeah, it always starts with music. Like me and my
Yeah.
guitarist, he'll be like, we need some music," like, and then we can write the words as
Yeah.
it's meant to happen. I get what you're saying though.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll come up with like a chorus idea, or just the idea, for a song, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you don't have that, then yeah, just start jamming. Just jam until you find that groove, you find that pocket. Like, that's it right there. Boom. All right, and just play that, and eventually the words will just start. The words will come. You just have to have faith in, just let your heart be open and just have faith. It's almost like channeling, people who channel like
Right.
Bashar, or the raw material and things like that. It's like you just have to have faith and let your mouth move and start saying the words, and then that channel will come through and start speaking through you.
Yeah, it's
So
like you said, you got to
we are
quiet yourself.
channeling.
Yeah.
It is literally channeling, I believe. Like you're literally channeling, you're tapping into a higher, realm through creativity, because the imagination is such a tool, right? There's not everything, or this computer, the microphone, everything you see around you, the drum, everything was made in the mind first. So the imagination, the consciousness creates form, not the other way around. Form doesn't create the consciousness, right? So it's
That's
the
right.
thoughts that create the forms of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
just have to let the music go, and then yeah, and just it'll all kind of come, it'll come out. You know what I mean?
No, that makes a lot of sense, and but I'm glad you brought up Ashar too. I was like, wow, like because I the channeling thing is really interesting, and it kind of made me think. Azim, when you said that, I was like, geez, like then I thought, wow, geez, like if you're not in a good spot, if you haven't done the work on yourself and the really tough shadow work on yourself, what are you channeling? Like I mean, you have to be so careful if you're not in that right place, and especially spiritually, and if your morality's shot and you're all of that, what are you channeling? Like, it's just you have
Yeah.
to be kind of careful.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. There's yeah. I mean, there's some dark stuff out there too, but
Yeah,
it all serves its purpose at the end of the day. I
I
mean,
totally agree. Yeah,
yeah,
you
it
got to
all
see
serves
the
its
dark.
purpose. Yeah,
you got
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
got to
Dark serves
understand the dark.
its
I hate when people say don't look at anything dark or anything like that.
purpose.
It just drives me crazy because I'm
Yeah,
like
you
you.
can't run from it. It's it's
y-
it's 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 in you too. You know what I mean?
That's
And
right.
the closer you get to the light, the bigger your shadow gets. So
That's
it
right.
they
Yeah.
go hand in hand.
You gotta know it. Yeah, you have to understand it. That's what I try to educate people on too, is you have to understand what we're up against and how they think and what their beliefs are and stuff, and that takes you looking into it. And I think that it's just to me, it's just knowledge. It's how you use this knowledge is the debate. Then whether it's good or bad or whatever. But yeah, you have to look into that and explore it and realize it's a part of all of us. And so I think that's really important for people to realize too. And I'm just really fascinated by your music, and I'm so happy that we could take the time. We were saying like our time zones are so opposite, and right now, so I'm so thankful, Azim, that you could take the time to come and speak with us about your music. I'm really enjoying it. I'm learning. I'm finding new songs by you, and you're
Speaking,
putting out
speaking of
some
time
really.
zones, are you from Canada or something?
I am, yes.
Okay, yeah. I heard it in your when you said, oh geez. This guy either is Canada or Fargo.
Fargo, yeah. Oh, after I talk for a while, people are like, "You're Canadian."
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
just tell they're like, and you apologize for everything. Like we apologize for everything. It's crazy, but yeah, you're exactly right, Canadian. And I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the time. I know I don't want to keep you too long, and
No, sure.
um, but I definitely. Oh, geez, I could talk to you for another 2 hours. I'm fascinated. What kind of music? What projects do you have going on now? What are you working on now? Like, let people know what kind of what irons you got in the fire currently.
I mean, I'm I'm working on an EP right now with a producer from the Bay Area. The Bay Area, Oakland, California, is where I kind of where my craft really came to light and
Mhm.
developed fully. Although I've lived in a whole lot of different cities around the country. Um, so right now I'm working on an EP. I've got a lot of stuff out there, man. And the thing is, to my own discredit and to my own flaw, I hate self promotion. I'm not a self promoter. I hate pushing my. I'm used to labels doing that for me, and
Right. Yeah.
so you know I had a website. Nah, I stopped paying for the website. It's gone. So I don't. My stuff is streaming on all the platforms, and although there's a lot of Azeems out there, if you put in Azeem, you might get some dude in Pakistan, yodeling with some goat. I don't know. So you have to find me. Like you say, you got to search for me. You might, you can put in rapper Azeem. You could put in the poet Azeem, Azeem hip hop. So you'll find me in that way. It's Azeem. And I've got like 7 albums out there or something like that.
Yeah, you have a lot of great work. I found you
Yeah.
through, well, through Derek, and then as I was trying to find more songs from you, and then I found a lot of it was with DJ Zeph and Azim,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
that seemed to bring up a lot of your stuff. Maybe can you talk a little bit? I'm learning as I go here, so can you talk a little bit about DJ Zeph and uh, who that
Yeah,
is?
I mean,
And
DJ Zeph, he's a guy that I met in during a show in California. There was all this hype going on as far like they weren't going to pay me. So he was like,
Oh,
"Hey, unless they pay the guy that's rapping that just rapped, then I'm not going to play." And it was this big. So him and I became friends, and yeah, we were signed to a label called Om Records, and yeah, we put an album out on that. But as the record, the thing about the music industry is that the only way you really learn what's going on, especially if you're independent, is by being ripped off. That's the only way you learn. It's literally the unwritten law of the music industry. You will get robbed until you figure out what's going on and what how to negotiate contracts, et cetera, et cetera. So we were mistreated. We were robbed. A lot of stuff went on with the label. So we kind of split ways after that. Plus, I ended up moving to New York for
okay.
a while. So I've always been a nomad all my life. My whole high school career is in a different state. L.A., Atlanta, Miami, Jersey. Um, Sometime in a drug rehab in New York. When I was probably, I don't know, 16, 17. So yeah, but yeah, Zeph and I, our thing was to try to combine kind of reggae and hip hop, you know,
Right.
and
Yes.
and we did our thing, and we had a good run. We were able to do some great tours, and really had a good time. And for me, the recording in the studio is one thing, but it's the live performances is where I thrive and where I'm most at home. I'm most at home on stage in front of an audience and sharing my energy, that's and the vibe that's in the lyrics. And I've seen it touch people live. I've seen their faces change. I've seen their body movement change. And that magic that takes place is so powerful to me. And it's priceless. It's literally
Yeah.
priceless. So yeah. So
Yeah.
any promoters out there, book me live so you can really feel what it is.
That exchange.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the plane ticket might be a little more than you're used to, because I'm in Southeast Asia. I had to get out of the U.S. for a while when all the COVID stuff was going
Hmm.
on, and the politics and the racist stuff and all the sexism and all the nonsense that they threw up on people. I had to get out. So I came to Southeast Asia, and I'm just here. I'm running around, Singapore and Thailand and Malaysia and Indonesia, and learning different cultures and finding new poetry and finding new inspiration.
That is so powerful what you're saying about this exchange of energy. And I'm also thinking about, as you talk about who you are, I can tell that you have such a well a well of knowledge and experience to draw from that shows in your music. And I think that's really a powerful thing that you have all these experiences, and especially as you were saying at the start of the interview, is in that you didn't get along in school, and you were and I talk about how I was always in the principal's office because I was always asking questions, and I didn't like the whole school schedule and stuff. But it's already, you can kind of see even at that time in your life, that fire that was burning in you, that you didn't want to conform and that you didn't want to be part of this system and you didn't get programmed. I think that was really cool that you kind of said that you kind of you kind of sidestepped this
Yeah.
programming that happens at a young age. But it shows now in your music, all of
Yeah.
these experiences that you've went through in your life. And you said about addiction, and I want to kind of touch on that. I think this, because I talk a lot about, because me as a recovering alcoholic, I think there's a lot of wisdom that comes from going through something like that. And so maybe talk, if you don't mind, if you don't want to, I totally understand. But I wanted to
No,
ask you
yeah.
kind of like how that experience was, and how you got through it, kind of thing. I think there's a lot, people do struggle, and it's good to hear that there is a way out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's you just with any type of addiction, no matter what it is, you just have to face yourself. You have to being an addict to anything negative, because you can be addicted to positive things, but being
For
addicted
sure.
to anything
Yep.
negative is going to affect your own self-esteem because it hacks the voice in your head. I'll tell you a funny story. When my father passed, there was all of this medications that obviously were left around. So there were these oxys. So this is now this is more modern times. A few years ago. So my brother's like, hey, here's some oxys. Here, let's split them. Here's some. Anytime you feel the way. So I was like, I was going. I was depressed because my father just passed and things like that. So I would taking oxy at night and things like that. And I did it the first night, then I did the second night, third night, uh, maybe the fourth night. By the fifth night, I decided not to do it. Like, nah, let me chill on these little pills, right? And I could not sleep. I was twisting and turning, and a picture kept appearing in my head of the pill. Boom, just take this pill and you'll be able to sleep. Boom. And I would try to get it out of my mind, think about something else. Boom, the picture would come back in the frame of my mind. Take the pill, you'll be able to sleep. And I realized that these pills had literally hacked my body in 4 days. They hacked the synapses in my brain somehow. And they were able to really become like a phantom, like a physical intelligence living within my body that wanted me to continue to feed it. It became a phantom that needed food. And that's what addictions are. They're literally, if you look at it in a spiritual way, they're phantoms that attach to you, and they're constantly hacking your brain and telling you, feed me more, feed me more, feed me more, feed me more. So, and what happens is you'll lose your self-esteem, and you'll start to think that you're a piece of shit and da 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 da. You have to regain your self-love. You have to regain your self-love and your sovereignty, your connection to the one consciousness, to the light, to the good things, to the that light that you see in children's eyes. To when you see a child look at a puddle, just a puddle from rain, and it makes their moment. They're like, yay, and they jump in the puddle. And you have to get back to knowing that is inside of you. And when you're able to get back to your love of self, then it's easier to fight this phantom. And the less you feed it, the weaker it gets. It's just how it goes. The less you feed it, the weaker it gets, and the stronger you become.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you just have to write it out, and you have to embrace the pain, because it's part of life. Like we said, the darkness serves its purpose. So nobody is living a life that's full of I don't care how rich you are, how your parents are billionaires, how much land in Hawaii you own, or whatever. You're going to have pain and sorrow in your life, and you're going to have times where you doubt yourself and things like that. Especially if everything is given to you, then it's probably harder. So you have to embrace the pain, and it'll make you stronger, and then that's your self-love will grow, and your relationships and connections will start to reestablish themselves, and you'll come out of it.
That's right.
You'll come
Yeah.
out of it. Yeah.
Great points and advice too, because I totally understand what you're saying, and this is what's promoted, as we were saying earlier, that all of these vices, or is a good word I call, is promoted, whether it's porn or drugs or
Yeah.
drinking, whatever it is. And as you said, like anything can become an addiction, but they really do go after people and after their vices and these. As you were saying earlier, I totally understand that, and I think you make a great point that there's this inner work, and it always seems to come down to that in these discussions. It is so important that you do the inner work and you start to really understand what's going on within yourself. And I've done a few interviews with some great people. Leslie Powers, I've interviewed a few times, and she breaks down traumas perfectly, amongst other things. But I really enjoy talking and learning about traumas and how they affect you, and you have to deal with them. It's one of these things that we were just saying, Azeem, about the darkness. Like, you have to embrace it, understand it, and deal with it. And I think that's what a lot of people are lacking, is that self work, and it's hard work, and it's not easy, but you can transmute it, as you said, into
Yeah,
real alchemy. You can take
yeah.
these negative experiences and positive that you've had such, you've been all over, it seems, and you're really got this wealth of knowledge that can be transmuted into gold through your
Right.
songs, through your music, through your poetry. But it's a process
I,
that
w- I wouldn't change. I wouldn't change a bit of the trauma that I went through as growing up, because it made me who I am today. You know,
for sure.
and therefore I don't have to use it as an excuse for my flaws. Like, oh, I'm messed up because when I was a kid, nah, the things that I went through at a young age, are now have become my strengths.
For
You
sure.
know, and so I wouldn't change a thing. I
No,
wouldn't
I,
change a thing.
yeah. It's once again, it's that forged in fire. I just love that saying because it's so
Mm,
true that you really, that's how you test your metal and all of these things. And that's how you kind of uh, gain that inner strength and wisdom that we're speaking about. And music is so positive. It can be so positive. And I keep saying that they really don't want people singing about what you guys are singing about or talking about and bringing this information forward and uniting people. And I know they fear it. They fear it because once we were, as we were saying, they love the division, and that's
yeah,
what they really focus on is this division. So I've always known music as this universal language, and it does speak at a soul level. From the times that we were probably, I've even said, like, how far does music go back? Probably to the time when we were banging rocks and sticks
for
and
sure.
just
I mean,
making
music
sound.
before
They-
humans, because even the planets have their own celestial songs. You
yes,
know, the planets themselves have frequencies that they push out. It's all music, and then you have the birds and the crickets and the so music and the math of music and the healing of music it's part of creation. You know, in the beginning was the word, and the word was a sound, right? So the Bible says, right, that sound had is a frequency, is a tone, it's a frequency, it's a C
that's
note,
right.
it's a, you know what I mean, and other frequencies were reverberate from it, you know, and that's the music right there. The creation, it was born through music,
That's right.
just
And
a celestial type of music.
yeah, I was just thinking, it's so incredible that you kind of brought up the sound of nature because I was thinking about that today. God is my witness. I was thinking because I was by the water and I heard like the waves crashing up like the on the shore. I heard like
Right.
the sound of birds in the background and I heard this humming of an insect, and I was like, this is music. Like this is nature's
Yeah,
soundtrack. And I don't
yeah,
think
yeah,
people
yeah.
really, they don't understand that, like, because people don't listen anymore and they don't focus
Mhm.
in and quiet themselves, as you said. But it was really cool that you brought that up because I was thinking, like, we're surrounded by music
Yeah,
everywhere if
yeah,
we listen.
yeah. Harmony, like even what Socrates said, the harmony of the spheres, right? You know, I mean, it's surrounded by harmony and unity.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Wow. That's so cool that you brought that up. And I got, there's just a couple more things I want to ask you before we wrap this up. But and
sure.
I always wonder this about any artist that I speak with, even any musician really. I want to get your thoughts on what's going on with AI and how do you see AI affecting the music industry? And what do you think is going to happen? Do you have any thoughts on it? I'm kind of in. I go back and forth about AI and music, and do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's going to cause a lot of damage? What are your thoughts?
Um, I don't think it's not well as far as music is concerned. It won't necessarily cause damage, but it will um, lessen and water down what our natural abilities are. Just like technology does. For example, before the cell phone, we all knew 10, 20 phone numbers by heart.
That's true.
As a kid,
Yep.
I knew mad phone numbers just by heart. Now I don't know anybody, barely anybody. I know my mother's phone number. That's about it.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
so yeah, so it that's a good example of what it does to creativity. But at the same time, like, how can it? we can't fight it. You know, it exists. You
Hmm.
know, the best we can do is use it with integrity and and
That's
know and know that you know, hopefully people will be able to tell the difference, which actually they won't and can't, but
hmm
hopefully at some point we'll be able to just know, like, okay, AI created this song and is singing this song. It didn't come from, you know, it's like when things went from analog to digital. When you listen to that old music, to that older music on vinyl, and you hear the pops on the record, and you hear
Yep.
there's actual soul, there's human spirit in the drums and in the guitars and in the keyboards. There's minuscule human mistakes that make the song beautiful. There's a soul in the music, but once it goes digital, that soul is gone because they're like, oh, this snare is off right here. Let me just move it over a hair. Boom, there it is, and everything becomes so uh, perfectly mathematically set that it becomes, yeah, robotized. So we're
Yeah.
missing that. That's the difference when you listen to these old bands. You know, you can the analog of the music was had soul in it, you know, and natural human mistakes that AI is erasing, is getting rid of, and maybe
hmm
that's the way that our spirits can tell whether it's real or not. But I don't really think the consumer actually cares whether it's real or not. They just want to be entertained, and that's fine. You know, there'll always. I think the more AI is affects us, I think there will be movements created that will be anti that, and they will champion, like, hey, we don't use any type of AI or robot technology. We just do it the traditional way, and there'll be people who love them for that. And then the majority of people who just want to be entertained, they don't care if Tom Cruise is really flying a motorcycle off a cliff and jumping into an airplane. You know, as long as it looks good.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? As
Yeah.
long as it looks good and it entertains them, and it takes their mind off paying the bills, that's all they want. And that's okay too. Again, everything serves its purpose. You
It
know what I
serves
mean?
its purpose.
And
Yeah.
if it reaches, you know, if AI reaches, you know, consciousness at some point, like they're saying it will, the singularity takes place, then we'll be on some Terminator shit.
Yeah,
And
for
you
sure.
know,
Yeah.
and it'll be, you know, is either fight or fight, or just or bow down at that point. So
Yeah.
either way, you know, there'll always be people fighting for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, equality, for integrity, and for the traditional, natural, spiritual craft of the arts, you
Yes.
know, and will always exist. Will always exist. Like I said, there's more Bob Marleys out there. There's more Jimi Hendrixes out there. We just got to find them. We
Yeah.
just got to find them.
Yeah. You just have to find. It's true. I keep saying that you got to search them out, and I agree with you. I think that people are gonna, and I'm already seeing it, Azeem, where people want like they want to go back to what you're speaking about. Like I collect vinyl, and I tell people that you haven't heard music unless you've heard it on vinyl through a really great component stereo like we all had in the 80s, if you're around in
Right.
the 80s. And I've changed people's whole view on music by putting a
Yeah.
record on. They just never heard music that way. And now with all these like auto tuning and all these things that they're using, I think
I hate
people are
all
kind
that.
of, yeah, I think people are want they want something authentic, something from the soul, something created with
Yeah.
passion and love, and and you feel that in the music that you do, and a lot of other artists that are singing about and bringing forward the music that you do. There's it's you feel how real it is. It's not just processed and put out there. There's a lot of soul and experiences that are behind your music that really show.
Tell them I'll call them. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, man. Thank you. That's what it is, man. So
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I am perfect. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak with me. And I will definitely let people know about your music. I'm going to promote it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the festival. I just want to let everyone know that is the Soundpath to Freedom Festival, which you can hear Azeem's music at. And that is going to be taking place August 29th right through to Monday, September 1st. There is going to be a live part of that event, but it is also free online too. So if you can't make it in person, please go check it out and seek out Azeem's work, and definitely check out his music. And I just want to thank you. You're welcome back anytime, Azeem. I really enjoyed this. I really did.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah. Peace be still, everybody. This is Azeem. And it's been a pleasure to be here. Definitely look out for me. And what we turned in for the festival, what we're doing for the festival is something really special. So if you happen to catch it online, if you weren't a fan, I think once you see what we're doing for it, pretty sure that you will be. And yeah, peace and love to everybody out there who's listening. It's a great thing that this recording will live forever. So to the
Awesome.
people in the future, big up. And if there are any time travelers listening from the future, I give you permission to come step into my timeline. And if you're of the light and of positivity, I give you permission to come into my timeline, introduce yourself, and let's change the world.
Awesome. I can't end anything better than that. That was perfectly said, Azeem. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I'll be staying in touch with everyone. So please check out the festival. That is Soundpath of Freedom. That is going on August 29th, right through to Monday, September 1st. Check out their website, www.soundpath.org, for all information. And take care, guys. Love yourself, love each other, and find your creativity. Find that creative spark and put it out there in your unique way that you can do. So there you go, guys. Boom.
Peace.